I think we also have media partners that have availability to the line if they're not watching it on the broadcast. I'm going to have the clerk do a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Mayor Provenzano.
Here.
Councillor Christian.
Here.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
Here.
Councillor Dufour.
Here.
Councillor Vezo-Allen.
Here.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Here.
Councillor Bruni.
Here.
Councillor Nero.
Here.
Councillor Gardy.
Here.
And Councillor Scott.
Here.
Okay, Council.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, it is Councillor Hilsinger. I am on the line.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we have everybody then? I apologize that you were missed, Councillor Hilsinger. Council, just housekeeping, as I indicated on our closed session, I don't have my city cell with me, so text my personal cell or send me an email to my either my city email addresses if you want to get on the speaking list. Otherwise, you can identify yourself on the line. And we will just go through in the same manner that we did 2 weeks ago. When the votes appear on your screen, you can vote on your screen, and those votes will show in the council chambers, and Shaw is broadcasting that. Otherwise, I'll go through a roll call on each of the votes. So we have a motion to adopt the minutes. If I can have that read, Madam Clerk, please.
I have a motion by Councillors Gardy and Vezo-Allen resolved that the minutes of regular council meeting of March 23, 2020 be approved.
So you have, you should all be able to vote on your screen. Please indicate if any of you are not able to e-scribe vote.
Councillor Christian?
I'm trying. I'm having a little technical difficulty here.
I can step in for you. Are you voting in the affirmative?
I'm the affirmative, yes. Here I am. I'm on. I could vote.
Oh, I did it for you.
Okay, thank you. I'm in.
Okay, that brings us to item 2 on the agenda, Council. So what we're going to do is I've been reflecting on how to give each of you as councillors an opportunity to communicate a message to the community about COVID-19 and what we're dealing with. And I also was hoping we could all communicate to the importance of the community in following Algoma Public Health's advice and staying home. But I also wanted to hear from you and have staff hear from each of you so that as we, over the next number of weeks, work together and develop our responses and consider the different opportunities available to us to respond and support the community, that we have your input. We're frankly trying to take a holistic approach, and what we don't want to do is be in a situation where the councillors who are looking to have some input feel that the only avenue they have to do that is through motion, and then we get a number of COVID-19 motions, which would take staff's time and attention away from maybe a holistic approach and focusing on individual specific projects. What we're hoping to do is hear from you more regularly by way of this type of mechanism, or potentially at the next meeting, I was thinking we could have maybe a committee of the whole discussion. That way we could have more input and discussion in public in the council meetings. Staff will take that away and factor that into the work that they're doing. So in that respect, I thought it would be important today if I gave each of you an opportunity to speak to the community, speak to us, speak to me, speak to staff. However you see fit, you can use the 2 minutes however you see fit. I just, for the purpose of the public that's listening, all of you were prepared for this and knew it was coming, so all of you had an opportunity in advance to think about what you wanted to say. And I want to just appreciate and respect the input that you will give us. So I want to give you that time. What we're going to do, a few people reached out to me and asked me how I was going to go through the list, and I thought the most fair and transparent way of doing it would be to go through the list by way of seniority, so essentially by way of how you sit relative to me. So I'm going to start with Councillor Margie Bruni. Councillor Bruni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, I would like to start off thanking the appropriate people and hope I don't miss anybody. If I do apologize. All frontline workers, the essential workers, the doctors, the nurses, police services, the fire services, a special call out to the EMS, the ambulance workers, and the PSWs who make personal visits to resident homes taking care of our elderly. I've witnessed the true professionalism and caring of these groups, and I am very impressed. To all the grocery store workers, for the patience and understanding during this difficult time and staying open so people can shop for food. To the restaurant store owners, the meat stores, the pharmacies, and staff for staying open and providing food when called upon. Many of these restaurants had to diversify to stay open and still provide employment to their staff. To all our special agencies, and especially social services under the guidance of Mike Nadeau, with the shortage of food, to the less fortunate, transports of food have arrived and will continue. Also, Harvest Agoma for ordering, staging, and distributing the food to the city. To all other agencies who have stepped up to the plate for the children and the youth, people with developmental and physical disabilities, and emergency shelters, but in reality, they are doing what they normally do, a true testament of caring for our society. I also want to thank the residents of Ward 4 and the whole city for their understanding for the position our city is in. Also, I'd like to thank the Emergency Management Control Group for working as a team. Councillor Nero, Councillor Gardy, and myself sit on this committee as council representation, along with Mayor Provenzano and our CAO, Malcolm White, leading the way. On any given time, between 26 and 30 individuals representing their organizations, discussing the emergency strategies and planning. The true fact of working together, making our city as safe as possible. To our city workers who have not lost a beat, PWT working on our roads with street sweeping program, pothole repairs, our transit service, but continuing with the bus service, our city hall staff who are working from Foster Drive or from home. They have not skipped a beat to providing taxpayers the service they require. To the staff of the Sault Area Hospital, in these difficult times, I have seen how the senior staff have made provisions to set up tents to perform the COVID-19 testing to ensure the safety of everyone in the hospital and residents of Sault Ste. Marie. And I must not forget Agoma Public Health, under the guidance of Associate Medical Officer Dr. Jennifer Liu. Agoma Public Health is the leader in this health crisis. We must follow their specific instructions. It's very simple. We are in a critical time. The next couple of weeks, it's important that the virus does not spread. I don't know how simple the message can be. Stay home. Don't go out unless it is for medical reasons or for food. Wash your hands regularly. It's that simple. Social distancing is very important also. 2 meters, 6 feet. Stay apart. And if you have traveled outside the Sioux, you must be quarantined for 14 days. And finally, I'd like to thank Mayor Provenzano and our CAO, Malcolm White, for their leadership throughout this crisis. I hear Mr. White on the radio. Mayor Provenzano is on the radio every Monday morning, providing updates. So the public is getting the information, not only from the City Council, but also from Agoma Public Health, Sault Area Hospital. PUC also is a key contributor. So I thank you, everybody. God bless. Everybody be safe.
Thank you, Councillor Bruni. Councillor Christian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start off by recognizing the community as a whole, those people out there who clearly are following health protocols established by the levels of government and health organizations. Based on my limited travels, I see the vast majority of people trying to do their best to keep proper social distancing, and I think that's really, really important. It sends a message to anybody that had any doubts about whether they should or not. And the reports that I'm getting show that virtually every business that is open in town right now is implementing their own procedures based on guidelines to protect their employees and the public in general. So we appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who is required to work, as Councillor Bruni pointed out, among them grocery stores, pharmacy, medical personnel. I can't name them all, but anyone that's working or is required to work, please know that all of us in Sault Ste. Marie appreciate your efforts. And of course, to Algoma Public Health further guidance and information. That's critical. These are times of uncertainty for everyone, and by having this information and this guidance and an organization leading us through this really helps. I want to thank city staff, as I did at our last meeting, for providing the essential services that we require, whether it's police, fire, public works, EMS, transit, to everyone at the city that's working. It's times like this that we see how important our city services are. In particular, I want to highlight transit workers who are our front lines. We see people having to use transit out of necessity, and we need to protect those frontline workers so that they can provide that service. Our service, our transit, like others across the province, are offering free rides, even though the service is limited. I've read reports about cities who have transit riders who are doing so to kill time or using it simply because it's free. We have to make sure that no one is taking the limited space that we can provide and using it unless it's absolutely necessary. There are people that need to get to work, medical appointments. It's important that those that can find other alternative methods need to use it. I encourage everyone to stay diligent and positive. These are uncharted waters, but I get the sense that we're all pulling together, and that's important. I urge people to check on people close to you, neighbors, especially anyone with special needs or limitations. Keep your distance and understand that we are all collectively responsible for ourselves, and by doing so, we're acting in the best interests of our community as a whole. I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. We'll get through this. I'm optimistic that at some point in the near future, we'll look back on this with a lot of pride as we collectively got through this together. So stay positive, support each other, and protect each other. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Christian. Councillor Nero?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me start by saying thank you again to all those people who continue to provide us with all the critical health services, those essential services that are required to keep our community healthy and safe. And of course, that includes everyone who is still working to get us through this crisis, city or otherwise. I believe this community has been and continues to be very well served with the good work and leadership of the Algoma Public Health. I would also like to note the important role that Sault Area Hospital has played in ensuring that they are well prepared for any surge in treatment. I want to thank our DSAB, which provides a social services network. We've been doing important work in supporting the homelessness, Ontario Works Emergency Assistance, food security, shelters, childcare, and paramedic services. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. White, who on behalf of the city supports and works with every one of these agencies, from Algoma Public Health to Sault Area Hospital to Social Services, EMS, Police, Fire, and PUC. I know that you, together with the leaders of these agencies, work on this issue day in and day out. COVID-19 has changed the way we live. We're all facing health and economic challenges unlike anything we've ever seen. From residential to commercial to industrial, everyone is impacted in some way. As a council, we must come up with ways to help people to get through this and ultimately put whatever we can in place to help in recovery. Although the federal and provincial governments can provide much needed financial help, and they can do so by running deficits, we, on the other hand, are legislated to a balanced budget and cannot. We have already deferred interest and penalties on the May 5th tax bill, and our staff are looking into other ways we may be able to help. We must keep in mind, though, that whatever amount we do go over the budget this year, we may have to make it up next year. Staff isn't already looking at this. I would like to suggest that staff take a look at our sewer surcharge, which we collect as part of the PUC bill. Suspending it or reducing the percentage collected for a number of months would give some immediate financial assistance without directly impacting our budget. The downside, of course, may be that reduction may impact some upcoming project that is funded directly from that surcharge account. But for now, the important thing is to stop the spread of this virus. So if you haven't already heard this, let me say it again. Stay home, wash your hands. If you must go out, stay 2 meters apart. Listen and trust our municipal, provincial, and federal leaders, as they are taking direction from our health experts. Stay active. Check in on those that are most vulnerable and alone. If we continue to listen and practice what is being recommended now, we will get through this sooner by stopping the spread of this virus. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nero. Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Nero and Bernie and Christian who have spoken before me. Obviously, this weekend is Easter weekend, and I think the tradition for a lot of families, including my family, would be to get together, have a big Easter dinner together. The importance of staying away and apart, physically distant, although not socially distant, but physically distant, is important, just as important this week as it has been in previous weeks, and perhaps even more important because of the tendency to want to get together over the holidays. Please do not get together for big gatherings as this Easter weekend approaches. You put not just yourself at risk, but your loved ones at risk, your family at risk, your parents, your grandparents. We can stay physically distant, keep our hands clean, don't touch our faces. That will be the best way that we can stop the spread of this disease. And the sooner and more strictly we follow these guidelines, the sooner we'll be able to get back to normal life. If we don't follow the recommendations now, these measures are simply going to be in place for a longer time. We all want to, I think, return to how things were. So please keep your distance, wash your hands, stay away from large gatherings. Do not feel the temptation to get together for large family gatherings this weekend. It is really not a good practice to do. With respect to community, how we have handled this, how our business community, how our residents have handled this, I applaud our entire population. I applaud our residents for staying socially distant. I've noticed a lot of people are walking, but if people cross each other on sidewalks, they tend to give each other space and keep their distance. So that is what needs to be done. And I know that it is difficult. I know that it can be difficult to stay away from family, from loved ones, from people who we regularly see, and that has put a axe on people's mental health. So anyone who needs it should call the mental health services that are available. The adult mental health line is 1-866-531-2600, and the kids' help phone is 1-800-668-6868. Those are resources that are available to anyone who is struggling get through this time, because it is a struggle, and those services, provincial services, are available to you if you need them. That's the adult mental health line, 1-866-531-2600, and the kids' help phone is 1-800-668-6868. With respect to our business sector, it was mentioned at the last meeting, but staff are looking into how we can use our economic development fund to assist those businesses that are going through difficult times at this time. And we will be expecting a report back on that from staff shortly, and hopefully we will have some measures available to the business community, specifically the tourism-related businesses, the service-related businesses that have been mandated to shut down at this time through no fault of their own, really. With respect to the deferral of taxes, we have deferred interest and penalties on the May 5th tax payment date to the beginning of June. I and other councillors are pushing to extend that deferral period beyond June 1. I believe this is, kind of the least the city can do. It's one of the very few tools available to us, and it's one of the things, in my opinion, we must do to help support our residents and our all taxpayers in the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Not just for the 3 or 4 weeks we've currently deferred it, but beyond that as well until we are through this crisis. With respect to Algonquin Public Health, they need to be commended for their medical recommendations for how they're handling and treating the spread of the disease in Sault Ste. Marie area. I have asked and will continue to ask that they do disclose more information on where the source of these the people who are testing positive are from in the district, as do Porcupine Health Unit, the Northwestern Ontario Health Unit, the Thunder Bay Health Unit, and the Sudbury Health Unit. So should be following a best practice in that regard, and I think that we should be disclosing more information on where the source of these positive tests is coming from. If not for any reason other than, you tend to relate more to something when it affects your community specifically or when it affects a neighbor of yours. So while people should be following the recommendations, no matter what, obviously that's important, they might do so more stringently if they know specifically that it's in their community. So those are my comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your efforts and the CAO's efforts over the last number of weeks and continuing on over the next several weeks for sure. I hope that we will get through this soon, and if everyone sticks to the recommendations, we'll get through it sooner.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Councillor Hollingsworth, we're on to you. I'm just going to remind Council that I'd like you to keep your comments under 3 minutes so we can give everybody, an equitable amount of time. Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say my previous colleagues spoke very, very well, and they did definitely touched on many key players helping us through this. So I'm not going to repeat all the wonderful thank yous because I echo every comment that my previous colleagues have stated. I just want to touch on 3 main areas very quickly. Community spirit. Once again, Sault Ste. Marie, our community has excellent community spirit. All of us have noticed in this short time period, an Easter hunt has been happening. As you drive down the street, as you look at SooToday and different Facebook pages, you see children's pictures, children's paper eggs in all the windows. What a wonderful idea to do a safe distance Easter hunt to keep the spirit alive. Well done on community spirit. The other piece on community spirit is thank you for those people that have been putting signs up at the hospital to say thank you to our healthcare workers. Once again, families are painting, families are making up homemade signs and putting them on the front lawn at the hospital at a very safe distance to say thank you to the healthcare workers. 2 great examples of community spirit. Also, another example is people are out there sewing masks, cloth masks, for the healthcare workers. And also Makers North, they're using their 3D computer to make plastic shields for the healthcare workers. Many more examples of community spirits, how we're all pulling together. Very, very good and well done. Also at this time I want to say thank you to our teachers. There's something new that's going to be put onto our teachers' plates this week. As everyone knows, online learning is becoming now the norm while we go through this uncertain time. Teachers, thank you for being so adaptive, so flexible to make sure that our children are educated through these challenging times. And I know that many of the courses might be online. I also know, talking to trustees at the school board, that are trying to make sure all children that don't have computers are going to be educated. And if you do have a computer that you want to donate to a family that is clean and make sure it's clean, you may want to reach out to a family that may not have a computer. So teachers, thank you for being flexible. Also, to the food banks, I noticed in some grocery stores there's food drop areas. You can actually buy extra food if you have the means, drop into a big bin, and the food's going to go off to our food banks. Please consider giving an extra can or two to our food banks. And if you can, a financial donation to charities. These are groups that do still need to be helped. Our food banks are receiving additional help from our DSAB boards. Please, if you do have the means, drop off extra food in the drop-off bins. Small businesses, yes, absolutely. As Councillor Shoemaker said, we must continue to support our local small businesses. Thank you for those that are ordering takeout foods from our mom and pop restaurants. Thank you for those that are calling different supply companies to do drop-off curbs. Small businesses we need to support. In closing, I want to recognize two councillors for bringing unsung heroes. We'll see this later in our meeting. Councillor Dufour, Councillor Benzo-Allen, absolutely right. Unsung heroes are all through our community. And I look forward to hearing both further comments from both of you later in our meeting. So again, in closing, please remember, we are a very close community with lots of community spirit. Thank you for that. And stay healthy, stay at home, and most of all, wash your hands and watch over your loved ones and people that may be living alone. Thank you. And thank you to Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Dufour.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would certainly like to echo the comments of my previous colleagues and thanking all of city staff and yourself, Mr. Mayor. For my allotted time, I really wanted to bring up the low-income folks in our community. I think that it's very revealing in times of a viral pandemic from a public health perspective and from an economic perspective. We realize that our community can only be as strong as the weakest among us. And so with that, I would really like to thank everyone at Social Services, from CAO Mike Nadeau to the senior management team, all the way down to our wonderful staff who have really stepped up and done an incredible job in serving our clients in this time of need. Your service not only helps our clients, but it helps the community stay as strong as possible throughout this pandemic. And so thank you very, very much. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dufour. Councillor Gardy. Councillor Gardy, you're on mute. Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor Hilsinger and we'll come back to Councillor Gardy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also would like to, as Councillor Dufour said, echo all of the thanks that were given to so many people in the community. Councillor Gardy, would you like to go ahead?
No, you continue,
okay.
Councillor Hilsinger, and we'll get back to that.
Thank you. But just thank you to everyone who's continuing to work on the front lines in whatever business or service that Frontline is in. I've been incredibly, I think it's incredible how patient all of our residents have been. I know in my weekly trip to the grocery store or to get supplies, everybody is just really trying to follow the rules and really being patient and respectful of each other, and that makes it so much easier to be going through these difficult times when you do have to be out. Of course, we're supposed to stay at home. We should stay at home. We should stay distant from others, but it's also nice to get out from a walk and still stay distant from others. And I have been in particular enjoying watching nature from inside these days, and the birds are very exciting to me outside. Anything we can do to feel connected to the outdoors when that's not somewhere that we can really be right now. I think that my family has a business in the hospitality sector, and in hospitality, in retail, and tourism, these businesses are being really challenged, and many people are, but it's really, really devastating. And it's important to do what we can to support our local businesses in whatever way that we can. People in retail and services and hospitality and tourism, they need our support and they need our good thoughts. And in addition to that, there's all those people in the arts and culture industries, people in the music industry, visual artists and other artists in our community. Please don't forget about them. They're trying really hard to give us some support through what people are doing online and keeping us connected to art, which is so important. Mr. Mayor, you mentioned having a committee of the whole meeting for our next council meeting, and I think that I'm trying to focus on the future. You know, we can't do anything about what's happening right now. We have to do what we need to do, and we have to look after each other. But I would certainly be excited about the opportunity to talk about, you know, what do we do next? What do we do to put our community in the best position to recover from this? Certainly there are other, potentially your community roundtable might be a source of recovery ideas, because I think that while we have to do what we have to do right now, at the same time we have to think about what we do next, so that when the time comes, we are ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hilsinger. I'm going to go back to Councillor Gardy.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate off the top most of what other councillors are saying. We are committed to doing what we can to alleviate the economic stress of our residents and our business community. I'd like to thank specifically Sioux Search and Rescue for the work that they're doing in delivering groceries and much-needed items to those people in the community who are unable to get out of their home. I know that Lisa Bell in your office is working with them and trying to add to a complement of volunteers to add to this effort, and I'm hopeful that that is being more and more successful as we move forward. You know, we're as strong as our weakest link. Everyone here has reinforced what public health officials have been telling you. Please follow all of those rules, and as we move forward, stay home as much as you can. And I really urge all of the business community who are staying open and doing such a great service that they ensure that they are doing so in as safe a way as they can for all of our residents. Thanks to you, Mr. Mayor, and all of city staff for what they're doing. And I look forward to us getting through this over the course of the next coming months. But from what I know of what has been going on behind the scenes in our community, I believe we are as prepared as a community could be for such a pandemic. So my hat's off to everybody involved. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gardy. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this is going to sound like a broken record, but I am going to do the same thing about echoing what all of the previous councillors have said. It's been great. I do have a list of some things I'm going to say. I'll keep it brief. I want to start by thanking the frontline healthcare workers. This is from the hospital to paramedics to long-term care facilities, home care workers, pharmacists, and so many more I'm sure we're forgetting. Thank you to the employees of the essential businesses, such as the grocery stores, the cashiers, the people who are stocking shelves, the delivery drivers, the truckers, the restaurants continuing to do takeout and delivery, everybody involved in keeping our food supply going. I would like to also thank the local businesses that have adapted beyond expectation, a situation that none of them have ever expected or planned. One such one that I did recently is OC Hair Bath Body Co. They have pivoted on this, and now they're creating hand sanitizer for healthcare facilities. I saw recently they're shipping it out west. They're doing a fantastic job of pivoting and supporting the community. I want to thank the police officers and the firefighters for continuing to protect our community from all of the regular threats, but still having to deal with this virus on top of everything else. Thank you to the city staff who are working tirelessly to ensure that our city is still operating, supporting the community. This includes public works, transit. Always, I'm glad that one of the other councillors mentioned transit specifically because they're very important right now, and they're out there continuing to try and get people where they need to be. The CAO, yourself, Mr. Mayor, everyone who works for the city, I want to say thank you.
one thing that I haven't heard yet, but it's something that I know because it's close to home for me, and it's one of my best friends he's a nurse at the hospital, and his wife is a paramedic, so they are out there on the front line day in, day out together tackling this. They're the heroes right now. But I want to thank the families of everybody that I've just mentioned, because those people also carry the burden. They feel the weight. They have to worry about their loved ones every day, and even themselves when their loved ones are returning home. So I'd like to thank the families. It's very important. The community as a whole, those of you staying home, practicing the physical distancing, as suggested by our public health experts, those people are important. As Councillor Shoemaker has said, there are lines you can call. This is very tasking on everyone's mental health. Please reach out. Please. To everyone who's struggling during this time, we are all in this together. Help out where you can. Call your family. Call your friends, neighbors. The pain is felt throughout Sault Ste. Marie right now. Keep your heads up, and we will all get through this. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is everything I needed to say.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Scott. Councillor Lisa Vezo-Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And obviously, I'm not going to do the same list of thank yous. I certainly reiterate what all my fellow colleagues have said. I really want to focus on two things: the business community, and as a mom of teenagers, what my experiences has been like during this situation that we find ourselves in right now. I really want to applaud the collaboration of Tom Vare and his team and bringing together EDC, Chamber of Commerce. I was in on the webinar on Thursday, April 2nd that discussed business support, and MP Terry Sheehan was in as well to explain things such as Canada Emergency Business Account, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, the temporary wage subsidy. All of these can be found on the Canada website, but also please, 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 for local businesses, and a lot of these programs include nonprofits as well, please call the city hotline, 705-574-1230. You can also email businessinfo@cssm.on.ca. And the webinars are well publicized on social media, and I really, really encourage business owners, nonprofits to participate in these webinars. And it also just creates a good feeling that we are all in this together, and there's a lot of good Q&As that happen through this the webinar. So definitely hats off to Tom and his team, and thank you. As a mother of teenagers, this certainly is a challenge. They don't self-isolate well. Teens are very social, and my sons are self-isolating with me. They have not been anywhere other than walks with mom on the trails, and we really, what I have to say is they hang out with me now on Friday and Saturday nights. We play board games. We watch movies. My food bill is definitely increased. We cook together. My one son is learning German on Duolingo online. So there are a lot of things that we can do as parents of teens. The one thing that we have to do is not let them hang out with their friends. I know it's really, 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 really hard. I know it's hard. I mean, my 15-year-old was like, I'm really going crazy. I'm really going crazy. So it's important to communicate with your teen and give them the support, knowing that it's not around forever. And with the homeschooling, there are some resources and some financial resources. So through the Ontario government, you have children aged 0 to 12. It's $200 per child, and it's called the Support for Families. If you have special needs up to age 21, it's $250 per child. The application is super easy. I did it in 2 minutes, and it's iaccess.gov.on.ca. So anyone with school-age children, please go onto that website, apply, get your $200 or your $250, and another website I want to, for all the parents out there that would help, it's called openculture.com. Has a lot of really great resources. You can tour museums, and really we need to take advantage of, resources that are out there that are free that keep you in the home. So stay home, stay safe. Don't let your friends or your kids have friends over. And I know it's hard, but it's hard for all of us. And reach out and call people. And there's a lot of different ways that we can communicate and socialize without being face to face. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Council.
I'm not sure what who just piped in there. Were you done, Councillor Bezo-Allen?
I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those comments. So, Council, we're going to move on to the agenda. Before we do, I'm not going to repeat or reiterate anything any of you have said. What I'm going to do is just express to the community my confidence as the mayor of the community in the team across the community that's working on this challenge on a day-to-day basis. It's a challenge unlike any we've ever seen. We can't understate the contagious nature of this virus, how quickly it can spread, and how significant its range is. People could have very moderate symptoms, but people have very dramatic symptoms and can get ill very quickly. So it's incredibly important that we all listen to Algoma Public Health's advice, and it's incredibly important that if we have symptoms, we self-isolate. If we don't have symptoms, we stay home. And if you can't stay home, you practice physical distancing. But you really shouldn't go out unless you have to go out. And I want to assure the community that the leadership of the community, from Algoma Public Health to Surrey Hospital to Social Services to the PUC, to our staff here at City Hall, led by our CAO, are incredibly competent and capable. And as Councillor Bruni pointed out, everybody is working together. It is our primary focus. And I think that we will get through this together as a community strongly, and we will get through it better. But we need to all follow the same advice. We need to encourage our family and our friends to follow that advice, and we need to engage people that aren't following the advice. And it will have a dramatic effect on our ability to get back to normal. So we are all giving a lot right now. We're all making sacrifices right now. But when you're in a crisis, it's not a matter of rights, it's a matter of responsibilities. And we all have a responsibility to ourselves, to the people we love in our lives, our family and our friends, and the people across our community that we don't know, to all follow the same set of rules, because we give ourselves the greatest chance to stay healthy and to stay together through this. So I want to thank all of you for offering your comments, and I want to thank everybody across the community who's working on this issue. I want to assure the community that I'm confident in our ability to deal with it, and I believe categorically that we will deal with it well. Madam Clerk, if we can move on to section 3 of our agenda.
Under agenda item 3, declaration of pecuniary interest, Councillor Shoemaker has declared a pecuniary interest with respect to agenda items 5.2 and 7.8.1, the PUC presentation and the PUC Inc. shareholder meeting, as PUC Inc. is a client of the law firm. And Councillor Shoemaker has also declared a conflict with respect to agenda item 6.3 and bylaw 2020-85, Second Avenue reconstruction, because the contractor awarded is a client of the law firm.
Thank you. Do we have any other councillors with any other conflicts? Hearing none, we can move on to item 4, Madam Clerk.
Under agenda item 4, I have a motion by Councillor Scott and Dufour, resolved that the agenda for April 6, 2020 City Council meeting as presented be approved, and it's open for voting.
Okay, so if everybody could please cast their vote, and if all the councillors or all the people on the line could make sure that your phone is muted, we are getting some feedback. So Madam Clerk, you have all the votes?
Councillor Gardy?
Affirmative.
That carries unanimously. That brings us to agenda item 5.1 under proclamations and delegations. There is a proclamation for Parkinson's Awareness Month.
So Council, even though we weren't going to have presentations at the meeting, the folks that wanted the proclamation for Parkinson's Awareness Month asked that we still declare it so that they could still have the declaration. So we're going to do that, and I'll read the proclamation. Whereas Parkinson's is a disease of the brain that touches almost every aspect of daily living, including movement, mood, speech, eating, drink, sleep, and cognition. And Parkinson's is a progressive chronic disease that results in a loss of independence and premature death with no known cure. And whereas Parkinson's is the fastest growing neurological condition in the world, affecting 100,000 Canadians, the number of people diagnosed each day with Parkinson's in Canada will rise to over 50 in the 10 years. Whereas Parkinson's is the most prevalent neurodegenerative movement disorder, and Parkinson's disease impacts the lives of thousands of families and care partners. And timely access to care and treatments make the difference between living well and experiencing hardship. Whereas Parkinson's Canada provides education, client service research, and advocacy for people living with Parkinson's and care partners across Canada. Whereas community members must engage in helping friends, family, and neighbors living with Parkinson's. Now therefore I, Christian Provenzano, as Mayor of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2020 as Parkinson's Awareness Month, and April 11, 2020 as World Parkinson's Day in Sault Ste. Marie, and urge all citizens of our community to become more educated and aware of the far-reaching effects of Parkinson's. So, Madam Clerk, we can move on to 5.2 on the agenda.
Agenda item 5.2, PUC Inc. There's a presentation from Robert Brewer, the President and CEO. Then we'll move down to appointing the mayor as proxy, and then there are shareholders' resolutions. But Robert Brewer has joined the teleconference call.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Brewer, are you on the call?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to speak today. PUC understands our role as an essential service and as a community partner. Today we are here in this difficult time with a plan on how we can support our customers who are struggling in the current environment. Our message is that we're here to help. We recognize the impact and stress that COVID-19 is causing in people's daily lives. And as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to evolve, one thing that won't change is PUC's commitment to providing safe, reliable, and affordable electricity, water, and wastewater services. We understand that there are a number of customers who are unable to work because of self-isolation or illness, or that are struggling with other pandemic-related consequences. Recognizing the uncertainty for business and residents, PUC has measures in place to help them get through these difficult times. The first thing we're doing is that we've extended the suspension of electricity disconnections to July 31st, 2020. Second thing is we're committed to being flexible with all businesses and residential customers. And we have options in place such as payment plans, extended credit terms, and more. As you're probably all aware, households, farms, and small businesses who pay time-of-use electricity pricing will now be charged off-peak rates 24 hours a day, a week. And we'll work with customers to access programs to help them manage electricity costs, including the Low-Income Energy Assistance Program and the Ontario Electricity Support Program. And one other thing that we'll caution on the call here is that PUC has been seeing an increasing number of phone scams and phone fraud. So we're just warning our customers that we will not be calling demanding payment or threatening disconnections. We do not yet know what the impact of COVID-19 will be on our customers, and in order to have the resources available to provide flexibility when and if it's needed, PUC is taking the initiative to think ahead and to plan for the future. A proactive measure only, PUC is asking for City Council to approve the following. The opening of our Structure Ontario $30 million credit facility, which was something that we have been negotiating since early in 2019. Drawing down $5.8 million from that credit facility and opening an operating line of credit for an additional $4.5 million. As an essential service provider and a community partner, we're committed to ensuring our customers are safe, the lights are on, and the water is running. And this strategy will allow us to have the resources available to provide flexibility for our customers during these unprecedented times. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, so I don't have anybody who sent me a request to get on a list, just for the purpose of people might be viewing and watching. The PUC was able to give the council a presentation on a few matters in close, so council's aware of this ask and has had an opportunity to ask questions about it. Council, did you have any additional questions you wanted to ask in the public section part of our agenda?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Gardy, could I just ask Mr. Brewer what he and the PUC are doing during this pandemic crisis to ensure the safety of his employees and everyone in the community?
Yes, you can. Mr. Brewer, can you please answer that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So there's sort of three pillars of our response. The first thing, obviously, is the safety and security of our employees. And we have many things we are doing to ensure that those employees have all of the resources that they need in order to be secure and safe, including making sure that there's additional vehicles so we don't have duplicate people or two people in a vehicle, so they can practice physical distancing. We've limited some of the types of work we're doing. We have a number of contingency plans in place that have had desktop assessments done on them to ensure that they're appropriate for this particular event. And so we have a number of contingencies that will take us as COVID-19 makes its way through. We will have the ability to react and to ensure that there's continuity of service. With respect to our customers, the second pillar for us, we are obviously very concerned about the impact that this is going to have on our customers. We understand that they will continue to use electricity at home, probably more than they have in the past. They'll continue to use water at home, probably again more than they have in the past. And affordability is a major concern. So we were involved in lobbying the provincial government on the time of use rates, and they have thankfully moved those rates to a much more favorable position for people. And we're trying to be as flexible as we possibly can for people that have financial impacts. So this is part of what we're doing here. The third thing is the business continuity. So as I alluded to earlier, we've got extensive planning and strategies that go into how we ensure business continuity for all of the critical tasks that we do. So it has been a very, very busy last month trying to get ready, and our team has done an unbelievable job in putting together and executing a number of those plans, including moving almost half of our workforce home to where they can actually function in an environment that is completely different than what it would have been a month or two ago. So hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Council, do you have any other questions? Okay, so Madam Clerk, if you could please read the resolutions we need to read so I can vote as the shareholder.
I have a motion by Councillors Gardy and Dufour, resolved that City Council is now authorized to meet in open session as the sole shareholder of PUC Inc. Further be it resolved that City Council appoints Mayor Christian Provenzano as Council's proxy to vote on the resolutions of the shareholder of PUC Inc.
Is that going to be voted in e-scribe? Yep, there we go. So Council, the vote's up on your screen. If you can cast your vote, please.
And that passes.
Madam Clerk, do you have everybody's vote?
I do. 10-0 with Councillor Shoemaker having declared a conflict.
Okay.
And now the resolutions. Resolved that the shareholder of PUC Inc. approves the strategy of increasing cash reserves given the turbulent times, approves the strategy to provide customers support through additional credit terms and flexible payment options, approves the negotiation and finalization of the additional credit line for $4.5 million, approves the drawdown of the Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation credit facility of $5.8 million.
Okay, Council, I certainly personally support the request, and my understanding and my sense from discussions with you is that generally Council supports the request. So based on my own opinion and my sense of your collective opinion, I'm going to vote in favor of the resolution.
Okay, and the second resolution of the shareholder is resolved that on the recommendation of PUC Inc. and PUC Distribution Inc. Board of Directors, the shareholder approved the establishment of the Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation Credit Facility as presented.
I will also vote in favor of that resolution.
Then that takes us into consent.
Okay, so Mr. Worth, thank you very much. I'm not sure if Mr. Bonifacio was on the phone, but thank you both very much for your leadership. We will move to the consent agenda, Council. Council, I've got 3 matters in the consent agenda. I don't have a list. Do any councillors have any questions for matters that are on the consent agenda? Seeing none, Madam. Sorry?
Oh, sorry. It's Matt Shoemaker.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Shoemaker.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. On the PWT report, I appreciate the report. Through you to whoever's on the line from Public Works, with respect to the report, it says that the landfill remains open to the public each weekday, deemed for essential use only. And obviously, it says residents should not be using the landfill to dispose of their spring cleaning. I've encountered a lot of people who have asked, because they are using their time off to tidy up and go through rooms and areas don't get frequent attention, if the landfill is available to use. Are we turning people away at the landfill, or is it open, per se, if someone wanted to use it, provided that they maintain social distance and don't come within 2 meters of anybody else?
Mr. Girardi, do you want to take that question?
Mr. Mayor, thank you, and through you to the councillor. First of all, I'll let you know that the landfill is open and we are open for business, but the fine details of it, Susan Hamilton Beach is online and she wrote the report, so I'm going to have her follow up.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Shoemaker. Yes, we are open. Yes, as we are an essential service, we are trying to provide this service and continue about doing so. But in an effort to ensure all physical distancing is maintained as per all of the recommendations, we're moving to a process as of tomorrow whereby 2 people will be allowed in per vehicle. We will get this advertised. We are also strongly recommending that no children arrive at the landfill site, and we will be engaging security to assist us in enforcing that physical distancing is maintained. So we're confident that the public will support these rules and will maintain that distancing to properly use the service.
And have we, thank you for that, have we eliminated or temporarily suspended the acceptance of cash at the landfill so that our staff doesn't have to handle cash?
Yes, thank you for that reminder. We are entering into week 3 of where cash is not being accepted, and I believe all customers are quite acceptable to that rule.
Thank you. Those are all my questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else on that item? Seeing none, I didn't have anybody else email me or text me to speak to any of the other 2 items on the consent agenda. So, Madam Clerk, if you can bring up the motion for the consent agenda. Everybody has the motion. If you could all vote on it, please.
Councillor Hilsinger? Oh, there you are.
You have all the votes, Madam Clerk?
Yes, that carried unanimously. And we'll move to agenda item 7.7, planning.
They won't be asking me anything now. They just approved it, so.
A lot of people don't use mute. So, planning, this is for deferrals, is it not, Mr. Clerk, Mr. CEO?
Through you, to you, Mr. Mayor, yes. This item was first postponed to today's date. So we do have to do a further postponement just to an undefined date.
So to be clear, Council, what happened was when this was before Council, we postponed it to a specific date. But because we did that, it had to come back on this date. And the motion is to postpone it to an undetermined date. So that motion is in front of you now.
So the application is, A120Z, 25 Donna Drive. A motion by Councillors Scott and Vezo-Allen resolved that the report of the senior planner dated April 6, 2020 concerning rezoning application A120Z be received and that Council postpone this application indefinitely.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. It's Matt Shoemaker. I was concerned that these matters would kind of delay the some building in the Sault this season, but I see online more recently that the province has suspended the issuance of new building permits. So more broadly than just being able to impact the Sault, it looks like they wouldn't have been able to move ahead in any event. So
That's correct, Councillor Shoemaker. The province has suspended that, so they wouldn't have been able to move ahead. Okay, so with that noted, if you can cast your votes, please.
Councillor Gardy and Councillor Vezo-Allen. Then that carries unanimously.
And I believe, Council, that brings us to the motions. Am I right in that respect, Council, Madam Clerk?
That's correct.
So we're at 8.1. Madam Clerk, if you could please read that motion.
Stop sign at Illinois Avenue and Texas Avenue of a motion by Councillors Christian and Hollingsworth, whereas Holy Cross is a large elementary school in the east end of the city, and whereas as a result of its size, many children are bused or driven to school on a daily basis, and whereas as a result, vehicular traffic on Texas Avenue has increased significantly, and whereas many of the students who walk to Holy Cross on a daily basis live at the north end of Texas Avenue and streets located northeast of the school, Sutton Place, Bristol Place, Chartwell Drive. And whereas dozens of students must cross Texas Avenue at the intersection of Illinois Avenue to access these streets, and whereas this intersection currently has a yield sign at the end of Illinois, which does not completely stop traffic as it turns right onto Texas Avenue. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be requested to report on the feasibility of installing a stop sign at the intersection of Illinois Avenue and Texas Avenue to improve pedestrian safety.
Councillor Christian, you can speak to this if you like.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the resolution states, we're asking staff to consider the idea. I think everybody's familiar with Holy Cross at the corner of Texas Avenue and Bennett. As the resolution states, traffic and parking issues have grown exponentially in the area. Councillor Hollingsworth and I have fielded a lot of questions and complaints about that stuff. Texas is a dead-end street at the north end, and on the northwest corner is the intersection of Illinois Avenue. And the kids who walk to this school back and forth from school live primarily in the northeast corner of it, Sutton Place, Bristol, and Chartwell, and they take Texas Avenue, travel north on it on the west side, which has the only sidewalk, in order to access a path that takes them into those areas. And the issue is that there are cars that are entering Texas Avenue from Illinois, and they're not yielding, and as a result, they're literally rolling into the intersection, and it's placing these cars face to face with the kids who are crossing over at Texas Avenue, and parents in the area have witnessed near misses, and they're asking for a stoplight or stop sign rather to be installed. And this situation gets a little worse in the winter when we have blind spots from snowbanks. So they're asking that this be done. I don't know if council got a copy, but there was a petition that was started in the area supporting the idea, but of course it was suspended because of the COVID scare and issues that we've had around that. So it was suspended. So we're asking for staff to report back.
Councillor Hollingsworth, did you want to speak to it too?
Oh, yes.
No, no, it was well representative by Christian.
Okay, Council, do you have any questions or comments? Seeing none, if we could vote. The vote is up on your e-scribe.
Councillor Gardy?
This is Councillor Gardy. I'm voting in the affirmative. I'm having some technical issues here.
Okay.
That carries unanimously.
Very good. Thank you, councillors. So we'll move on to 8.2. Madam Clerk, if you could read that resolution, please.
A motion by Councillors Vezo-Allen and Dufour, whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has greatly affected the day-to-day lives of not just our global community, but our local community of Sault Ste. Marie. And And whereas the pandemic has created difficulty for many in our community to access day-to-day living essentials, and many essential workers put themselves at risk daily. And whereas there have been many reports of individuals, groups, organizations, and businesses going above and beyond to assist their neighbors or recognize the difficult work of our frontline workers, grocery retail staff, and other essential service workers. Now therefore be it resolved that amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, the City of Sault Ste. Marie establish an honorary award for those unsung heroes at this time and strike a subcommittee to receive nominations and establish criteria for our local heroes of COVID-19 in our community of Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay, Councillor Vezo-Allen, if you want to speak to that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This really came forth from a couple of different
right when I'm listening to them.
Avenues. Someone who I know, we work together in the social service industry, had said, the city going to be doing something to recognize the people that are really supporting our citizens, and as well, just knowing and around people that work in either front lines in the hospitals or seeing what's going on with nursing homes and the nursing home staff and residents and all the frontline workers. And I was at a grocery store 2 weeks ago, and the cashier kept apologizing to me. And I was like, well, no, don't apologize. I respect what you do, and I'm fine with it. And so I think we need to really bring forth a way that those people that are contributing above and beyond, that their stories can be shared and told that probably otherwise would not be. So I think this really brings our community together to celebrate the hard work that's being done, and I'm thankful for the support by my colleague, Councillor Dufour, and I think that this will be a very positive moving forward in a very difficult time for our city.
Thank you, Councillor Dufour. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
I have nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
So I have Councillor Christian who has a comment. Councillor Christian.
Yes, thank you. I just really briefly, I applaud the spirit of the resolution, and I'll support it. And I think Councillor Vezo-Allen touched on a point that I wanted to make. I think it would be difficult to identify all of the unsung heroes of the people that should be awarded such recognition, especially since it's likely going to be, I'm hoping we don't have another pandemic anytime soon. But she did make the point that it could be an opportunity for the community to share stories. So perhaps as a suggestion going forward as we look at this, that it's not simply a matter of awarding a recognition, but allowing people to come forward with stories that we could highlight and identify and celebrate with the entire community. And therefore, it would be up to individuals to bring those stories forward, and we can make them public.
Okay. Any other comments, Council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is Councillor Scott.
Go ahead.
I was just, actually, Councillor Christian basically summed up my thoughts on it as well. I was kind of thinking that when I was reading this the first time. There's going to be dozens and hundreds even of people, hundreds of stories of people in our community who are definitely over-contributing beyond regular means. And I think that if we could do something that would more recognize the stories of everyone rather than together a committee or a subcommittee that may be looking at a few specific stories. I think that there's a lot of exceptional people out there doing exceptional work, and it comes from every area of Sault Ste. Marie. I really do think if we could focus on that aspect more so than putting it into a smaller, narrowed area, would be something that I would definitely suggest and get behind. And hopefully as well, I'm not sure if timing of this is spot on. Maybe once we get through it, I'd say we're still in the thick of it. But I'm assuming that would be done after the fact, since as it stands, we can't really gather. So But I do think Councillor Christian had the right idea, and that's something that if it goes forward in that sense, yeah, I'm definitely on board. I just think that there's so many examples out there that I would hate to omit any people and give recognition to the broader community who are going above and beyond.
Councillor Vezo-Allen, did you want to address that?
Something like
Am I muted?
No, you're on. You're on. I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I lost track of all my warnings. I definitely agree with, the comments from my fellow councillors, and the criteria and the mechanism hasn't been put in place. So this is definitely a time that we can look at it with clerks and figure out how we can make that process really open, and that we are able to share the stories that come in. I think that's definitely feasible. I've done these sort of things before, so I think we can definitely provide an avenue. But I think it's important too that we can, once we have approval and move forward, that we can, have feedback from the councillors as to what they would like to see and that into a formalized process.
Thank you, Councillor. So to both Councillor Christian and Councillor Scott, when I got the resolution, I did raise kind of the magnitude of it with the mover and seconder, and it's my understanding in talking to them that they're very kind of open to landing on the best way forward on this. They just want to start the process of formalizing the recognition for a lot of the good work going on in our community. And I think we all agree, and a lot of you reiterated this in your comments, there's tremendous people out there doing a tremendous amount of work. I think it's going to be hard to recognize all of it, but that's not a good reason not to do it. So, I trust Councillor Vezo-Allen and Councillor Dufour to kind of find a good landing spot on this, and I'm sure they'll take your comments into consideration, and in the end, we'll do something we can all be proud of. So if there are no other comments or questions, we can pull up the vote on that, Madam Clerk.
Councillor Dufour? Councillor Shoemaker? There. It's passed unanimously.
Okay.
And
so that brings us to bylaws, Madam Clerk?
Yes, and because we only have two bylaws and Councillor Shoemaker has declared a conflict on one, we won't do a consent motion. So bylaw 2020-85, reconstruction of 2nd Avenue contract. I've got a motion by Councillors Gardy and Dufour. Resolved bylaw 2020-85 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of the contract between the City and Avery Construction Limited for the reconstruction of 2nd Avenue from 2nd Line West to Connaught Avenue, contract 2020-2E, be passed in open council the 6th day of April 2020.
All in favor? Oh, it's up on your screen, so if you can just cast your vote.
Councillor Hilsinger?
Oh, here it comes. Yes. It's just coming up now.
Okay. That carries 10-0. And bylaw 2020-86 is a street closing with respect to 2nd Avenue. A motion by Councillors Gardy and Dufour. Resolved that bylaw 2020-86 being a bylaw to permit the temporary closing of 2nd Avenue from 2nd Line West to Connaught Avenue from May 1, 2020 until October 31, 2020 for the reconstruction of 2nd Avenue be passed in open council the 6th day of April 2020.
So the vote's on your screen, Council?
Madam Clerk, I vote yes. My screen is still hung up.
Okay. That also carries unanimously. And under agenda item 14, a motion by Councillors Scott and Vezo-Allen that this council now adjourn.
All in favor? Please cast your vote.
Councillor Gardy and Councillor Bruni. That passes unanimously.
Thank you, Council. Appreciate your patience throughout this. We hope to be able to do these in person soon. Everybody have a good night.
Be safe, everybody.
Take care.
Good night. Thank you.